God, it's been a year, hasn't it? The world's on fire, we live in a perpetual state of existential dread brought on by the capitalistic nightmare society we live in, and if you're watching this in America at time of writing, you also live in a land of pure insanity courtesy of a rotting pumpkin in American powered by spite and dementia. But on the plus side, it was a really good year for gaming, so let's focus on that for a bit, shall we? If you read the video title before you clicked on this, then you probably don't need an explanation as to what I'm on about here, so let me just give a quick rundown of the rules for this video before I get into my favourite games of the year. First, I'll only be going over the games that I personally played or finished for the first time this year, and by finished I mean to my own personal satisfaction, usually meaning to story end, and I'm not even going to pretend this list is objective in any way. This is just my silly little internet video about the games I liked. I mean, I can't help it that my opinion is objectively better than most people's. Second, as I am eternally playing catch-up, a lot of the games aren't from this year. Money is constantly tight and I have a gummy bear addiction to feed. Finally, if I don't mention a game, it's probably because I couldn't afford to play it and not because it isn't good. You also won't see any Nintendo games on the list because I refuse to give them my money until they stop being so rabidly anti-consumer. It's a hard job having a moral backbone, but somebody's got to do it. However, I would love to hear your own favourite games from this year since I'm always looking for more recommendations, and I'd also love to hear what you thought of the games I brought up. Also, like, comment, subscribe, bell, Patreon, slide to the left, hey Macarena, you know the spiel by now. Right then, with that out of the way, here are the top 11 best games I played this year, plus some honourable mentions because I still have no self-control. I was honestly really skeptical when FromSoft announced what they had planned with this game. I mean, Elden Ring, but it's online multiplayer only and basically PUBG? That's fucking crazy talk. But to my absolute delight, they managed to pull it off with aplomb, weaving a damn good game out of their insanity and providing me with dozens and dozens of hours of fun and frustration, as is customary for anything FromSoft makes. What really makes this game work is how streamlined everything is. The characters all have their set roles and level ups are basically just a push of the button with preset growths, so you can literally run by a grace and level yourself in less than a second, which gives more time to run around fighting enemies and collecting upgrades and loot and trying not to die or get melted by the evil acid rain of darkness as it slowly creeps forward with the inevitability of the tides, or like a really edgy glacier. I'll be honest, as a dedicated sorcerer player, I pretty much only ever play the Recluse since she is the mage build, but sometimes I will play the Duchess if I'm feeling particularly stabby that day. What's funny is that I tend to snack a lot when I'm gaming, so if you see me in the wild sprinting into a wall for an extended period of time, don't worry, I'm not lagging, I'm just shoveling some popcorn into my mouth. Can't fight the Night Lords on an empty stomach after all. There are two reasons why this is only 11th on the list. The first is that I'm really big on narrative in games and Night Rain has less story than any other FromSoft game. I mean, what they do have is very good and I've enjoyed it, but as someone who really enjoys reading the lore tidbits and the item descriptions and listening to Vati explain it all in those dulcet tones of his, this just isn't enough for me. The other reason behind its placement is that because your experience is so heavily reliant on total strangers that you can't meaningfully communicate with, your experience is even more of a mixed bag than the randomness of design already implied. Maybe you get lucky and be grouped with a couple of gods who can solo every boss and pass along the items they know will benefit you and actually stick with you through the run, or maybe you'll get unlucky and someone will drop out in the first 5 minutes, or they'll steal all the items you need, or not resuscitate you and lose you 3 levels worth of runes, or maybe your wilder will just walk away from their keyboard for 10 fucking minutes and leave you and your Iron Eye to fight a magma worm with a night closing in by yourselves. Lucky Luke when I fucking find you. But overall, I'd say I had more fun than not, and I really appreciate FromSoft's attitude of, we're adding stuff to the game eventually, just go crazy and fight some of the coolest bosses we've ever designed. I mean, I have other complaints, but they're largely minor when set next to the very solid core mechanics of the game. I've really enjoyed playing with my friend, or when I'm by myself, putting on the free run soundtrack and feeling like a fucking god as I fight the lag beast. So yeah, it's a good game. Not for everyone, but then what really is besides air? This is obviously going to piss off some of the hardcore Souls fans, but I will stand in my truth, as well as in this shell. I remember when this game came out, the tryhards started whining about how it couldn't be a real Souls-like because it was too colourful, and the devs put out that video making fun of them, and I just found that delightful because that's really the only way to deal with the kind of people that get so wrapped up in the appearance of maturity that they inadvertently reveal just how immature they really are. This was a very roundabout way of saying the game is very good and also a lot darker than appearances would suggest. Crabs is the story of Krill, an adorable little hermit crab who becomes the victim of capitalism as a loan shark steals steals his shell and forces him to go out on an epic adventure to try to get back the only home he's ever known, all the while dealing with the ever-growing horror that is pollution and capitalism and despair and the inexorable march of entropy itself. See? I told you it was dark.
All of our lives are as sand beneath the tide. You'll see one day.
Another Crab's Treasure strikes the perfect balance between depressing and goofy in tone, and is honestly just really fun all around. It's also decently challenging, but in that fair way that a lot of Dark Souls imitators seem to forget is important. The game will absolutely stick your fork up your little crustacean ass and repurpose you as a litter picker if you're not careful, but it never feels insurmountable. Also, the game really wants you to learn to parry, but I never did because I am eternally bad at timing those and could get by just fine by dodge rolling, so that's what I did. It's also got a very fun little shell mechanic where you can swap out whatever trash you have on your back for different pieces of garbage with different stats and special abilities. And the magic is called Umami and it uses the MSG stat, and you know, this game is just really charming. You should try it if you haven't. Oh, and the game has some really good accessibility features, which I know some extremely sad losers always whine about, but I personally think more Souls-likes should have them, which is a topic for its own video. My absolute favorite feature though just says, give Krill a gun, and I looked at that and I thought it would just be like a crab-sized pistol, but no, it's a realistic fucking handgun that one-shots literally everything in the game, and I clicked on it on a whim, and suddenly I was waddling around carrying heavy ordnance and just... oh god, this game is fucking funny sometimes. Play another Crab's Treasure, it's really good. I honestly don't know how to start talking about this game without repeating what I said when I talked about the demo in November. Skate Story is just this mesmerizingly oniric game that has the most immaculate vibes I've ever seen in my fucking life. You play the skater, a demon in hell made of glass and pain who signs a contract with the devil to gain a skateboard that will allow them to achieve their goal of eating the moon, and then 7 more moons after, because why the hell not? It's an exercise in absurdism and dreamlike contemplation, and also mistiming jumps and shattering into a million pieces before popping back together like nothing happened and trying again. I fuck up a lot in this game is my point. Skate Story is genuinely just incredibly good for chilling. The controls are relatively simple and it manages to strike the balance of easy to learn, somewhat difficult to master, while also just feeling good. The entire experience is so surreal that you eventually just find yourself nodding along to the absurdism and allowing the game to take you along in its flow as you follow a rabbit through portals, or converse with a floating skull named Larry, or find yourself doing the devil's laundry, all in your quest to devour celestial objects. Behind the surreality and the sublimely chill vibes though, there's a really interesting story about purpose and meaning, and since the only way to fail is to give up, I'd say it's definitely worth your time, especially since it's not an exceedingly long game, but it is very enjoyable. Absolutely fuck Moon 7 though, for real. It feels weird trying to argue for why this game is good when I already made a nearly hour-long review of the game in October, so I'll just handle the broad strokes here and ask that you check out my full review for the minutiae of why this is the perfect sequel to Hades 1. Everything from the first game, but bigger, more polished, more impressive, and just good. Just damn good. Also, you can sprint, you can fucking run, it's so good, I enjoy it so much. I can never go back to the first game now because Zagreus moved at the speed of smell and I want to move faster! Also, Supergiant continue to be the absolute kings of story gameplay integration, and this game is basically the platonic ideal of what a roguelike should be. I've been playing this game since it came out in early access the very first day, and I'd placed it higher, but I actually kind of burnt myself out in the game making the review and then the video on Narcissus, both of which I'm very proud of and you should watch. If you liked the first game, you will absolutely love this one, so go play it and experience the reign of the bisexual ghost princess in all her glory. Also, remember to pet the frog. It's very, very important that you pet your frog. Have you ever wanted to get away from it all? Like, literally everything ever? Well, have you considered jumping on a rocket and flying off to find another planet? Probably not, that's prohibitively expensive and also very dangerous, but have you considered playing a game about doing that? Well, you should, it's very good. I Was a Teenage Exocolonist is this brilliant little game about growing up on a distant planet and everything that entails. From taking your first step on a new world to studying xenobiology, to recalling the memories of your past life as you struggle to locate the perfect timeline where there are no unnecessary deaths and you don't have the weight of every life you could have saved crushing your mind as you try to navigate both puberty and a deadly alien planet at the same time over and over and over again for eternity. It's a fun game, I promise. All joking aside, I really do recommend this game. I actually briefly touched upon it in my Let's Talk About Non-Binary Character Building Options video early this year, for how well it integrated your character's gender identity, But that was far from the only thing I liked about this game. I love the characters, the other kids you grow up with, and the adults who guide you through that growth. I love the setting, a world bordering on science fantasy with strange and wonderful flora and fauna. I love the gameplay system, the attributes you raise through study and activity, and the memories and experiences that become your strength in the challenges you face. This is actually the first card battle sort of thing game that I've ever really enjoyed, and I spent a long time trying to figure out what it did that worked for me that a dozen other games didn't, and I ultimately decided that it's the narrative weight of each card. Each one represents a formative memory or choice you made. Each is an intrinsic part of you that, while you may forget some, still serves as a building block in the vast array of experiences that make you, you. It's really brilliant and I liked it a lot. What's funny is I almost didn't play this game, as earlier this year I had someone trying to use it as a cudgel to explain why the extremely good non-binary representation in another game I made a video on was actually terrible, which is not a good way to sell anyone on a game, just an FYI. Luckily, a good friend had recommended it first, so I decided to give it a shot and I wasn't disappointed. Exocolonist was actually a really good stress relief game for me this year. There were a lot of days I'd come home from work and turn it on while listening to music and just feel my tension fade away. It really helped me get a lot of work done. You know, after I managed to drag myself away from it, that is. It's a good game and it has a lot of replayability, so it's definitely worth the price. And considering that price is only $25 American, when not on sale, I'd say go for it. You know, I'd intended to do a video on this game after it came out, but I was just too busy with other projects and never got around to it. That's fine though, because I was pretty much only going to gush about it and I can do that here just fine. Wanda Stars is one of the most anime things I've ever played and it is delightful. You play Ringo, a young girl on a mission to become the best Ki fighter and also to run to the store to get groceries for her grandma, which immediately gets sidetracked as a space furry named Wolf, Akira slides onto the scene, steals her pendant that contains a piece of the Wanda Star map, gets his ass kicked by her and then his bike blown up by his ex, and then they both go on an adventure to find the map and also Ringo's missing brother, and it's just the best. Wanda Stars was clearly made with a lot of nostalgia for the anime of the pre-2000s and is just one long string of extremely memorable characters and funny moments, and it's just really fun. This game is so damn fun. Special mention goes to the combat, which feels like it was designed specifically to appeal to people like me, since you're basically assembling super moves on the fly with the power of words. You're given a list of actions and modifiers to upgrade them or alter their effects, and it all works really well. Each enemy has weaknesses and resistances, and it all fits together quite nicely, allowing you to throw an extra fast and mighty flame uppercut, all implied to be screamed at the top of your lungs like anime god intended. There are a ridiculous number of combinations you can make, and combat largely centers on beating up your enemies just enough that they give up so you can get bonuses and power-ups, and it's just really fucking fun. The characters are also extremely likable with good chemistry and really touching relationships. They absolutely make the story work as well as it does. And speaking of the story, my favorite thing about it is that it has this a hat in time quality where it's more concerned with what would be the most fun rather than forming a cohesive single world. It's like, okay, you're fighting people on the beach and planning to become the Ki champion. Now you're pursuing lookalike bandits to clear your name so the alligator sheriff will stop trying to arrest you. Now you're fighting corrupt cops dressed like Power Rangers and trapping Wolf's ex-boyfriend in a restaurant by telling them it's his birthday. Now you're traveling through a haunted forest with a singing witch. Now you're fighting Octopus Mommy in a climactic showdown as the pirate ship is struggling against the pull of a wormhole. Now you're exploring a metropolis with your best friend, your adoptive older brother and his boyfriend. It's just one thing after another and it's so good. I really cannot recommend this game enough, just please give it a try, it deserves so much more attention. Have you ever had a game grab you entirely from the premise alone? Well, that's what happened to me when I watched Yahtzee Croshaw talk about this game. I had to see it for myself, and once I started, I honestly never wanted to stop. I was up until 4 in the morning trying to see where the story would go next, multiple nights. God, I was not ready for work the next day. South of Midnight was brought to us by the creators of We Happy Few, but don't hold that against them because they have completely redeemed themselves with this lovely little number. It's the story of Hazel Flood, a woman on the road to college whose mother is washed away, along with her house, in a hurricane. She then embarks on a journey through the tall tales of the American Deep South to find her mom, along the way being confronted by creatures, cryptids, her own past, and even the worst monster of all, rich white people. Hazel herself is actually a weaver, someone who can perceive the damage that pain and trauma leave behind on the fabric of reality and can, in turn, attempt to heal it through supernatural means. This game is honestly amazing, and there's a fantastic story of trauma, abuse, pain, connection, and healing that I cannot recommend enough. Combat is fine, it mostly gets the job done, but it's the narrative and characters that will really keep you invested. The world is colourful and fantastically imagined, brought to life in an almost studio-like art style that makes me very happy. I also just fucking love Hazel herself. She has such an attitude and is one of the most realistically relatable protagonists I've seen in a long time.
My salvation.
A talking fish? Nope. Ain't no way.
She's just so done with everyone's shit and I love her for it. The game also has fantastic fucking music, especially with the boss fights are concerned, since they get their own jazz or bluegrass ballad that range from hype to heartbreaking. I really recommend looking up the OST, it's got some incredible range and certified bangers. Honestly, there's just so much in this game that's so cool and fun. From fighting an alligator big enough to eat buildings, to riding the wind up through the mountains, to my personal favourite, a bastard magician forcing you into an impromptu dance number.
Dreammaker, Kingmaker, Lord of Bargain Chance. Spin the wheel and make a wish. There's no payment in advance. Kuzma Master, Power Bastard. No one comes close to him. All are welcome to stay forever. Time to sink or swim.
Also, the platforming chase sections are genuinely just really exciting, even if Hazel grows less and less impressed by the monster pursuing her with each run through. I actually did an essay on how this game explores toxic masculinity that I'm still really proud of, and I could easily do 3 or 4 more videos on this game alone if people are interested. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that, I'm genuinely curious. Overall, this game is beautiful and powerful and definitely worth your time. Please give it a look sometime, I really want to see it get the love it deserves. Well, fuck me, I'm never gonna hit the end of this, am I? Veilguard was essentially the big gaming hate sink of the year, as both the reactionary outrage merchants who like screaming every time the word gay is used, and the old fans of the series who had waited 10 years for a sequel to Inquisition and let their hype fester, all collectively decided the game was responsible for everything wrong with the world, and all got together for a nice little lynching session to unload all of their hatred onto it. The game technically came out last year, but people have been making hate videos on it all this year too, and I didn't play it till this year either, so here we are. Veilguard is the story of Rook, a member of one of Thedas' many factions who, after a job to stop bald Loki from destroying the world goes wrong, is forced to set out to gather as many people and resources as possible to halt the rise of the Evanurus, ancient malevolent gods who seek to blight the entirety of the world in an attempt to rebuild the empire they once ruled, no matter how much it damns existence in the process. It's a deeply compelling experience that, while not perfect, is still phenomenally written and extremely fun to go through. Here's the thing about Veilguard, if you actually go into this game with an objective mindset, which I did, you'll find it's very good. Really, really good actually. It's a fucking fantastic game that convinced me to start looking into more of BioWare's work. Combat is challenging and very fun, the characters are likeable and deep, and the story is both incredibly thoughtful and hopeful, while also being one of the most meaningfully dark games I've ever played in my life. It also had, and still has, the best non-binary representation in any AAA game. But you're not going to get that from it if you go into it angry that it's not something else, or if you're just intent to throw a tantrum about it for whatever reason, which a lot of people did and are still doing. I can almost guarantee you that in a couple of years we'll be seeing a slew of videos talking about how the game was really good actually, and unfairly maligned, and all the people who had a histrionic meltdown are going to look pretty fucking silly when someone with an objective view of the game does make that, and more people who aren't invested in fueling their anger give it a look and realize it's really fucking good. Hell, maybe I'll do that. At the very least, it'll give that one Redditor a chance to flex their, I'm sure, very impressive vocabulary again. I'm not going to waste my time arguing about the game's placement on the list with anyone in the comments. I made an hour-and-a-half long review of the game that you can check out if you're interested in hearing the perspective of an outsider to the series, but I'm not putting up with your tantrums on this video. Veilguard is good, and it deserves a lot more praise than people have been willing to give it. Man, where do I even begin with this one? Metaphor is a game that I played relatively early in the year and that just hit me like a runaway cement truck from the word go. In a world not unlike our own, you play as insert name here, though the game is pretty clear that you, dear player, are a separate entity entirely. You take control of your little guy in a dumb hairband with a fairy companion named Gallica as they journey to save the Prince of the Kingdom from a curse cast by the evil Count Luis, along the way getting wrapped up in a contest to determine who will be the new king of the world as determined by the will of the people. Basically, it's a popularity contest judged by giant floating heads where you're secretly planning a little preventative murder to secure the future for your sleeping beauty bestie, along with everyone else involved, fueled by the power of friendship and also the not persona you gained by tearing out your heart and proclaiming your intent to change the world to the weird invisible lady in the light of heaven.
I am the last of my house, I am the last of my noble bloodline, and in the name of my people, I will strike you down where you stand!
Once more, I take up arms in my liege's name!
Totally normal, happens all the time, don't worry about it. If you've played a Persona game, then you'll be familiar with the gameplay loop of Metaphor, though the combat is press turn system and a bit more challenging than Persona 5 ever was. It is also the actual best writing that Atlus has ever produced, with deep and intriguing characters, a world rich in lore and wonder, and a compelling story of loss and companionship, strife and joy, and the deeply philosophical question of what a truly ideal society would look like, as well as what we owe each other. Also racism. Lots and lots of fucking racism, but like actually well done for once. Also, it lacks most of the usual issues that Atlus has with this writing, so hey, well done there. The game just keeps hitting you over and over with twists and revelations and lovable people, and I was struggling to put it down every day I played, desperately eager to see what would happen next and to answer the questions each chapter left me with. And it will probably leave you with a good amount as well. Questions like, how did you end up with the archetype powers? What the fuck are these monsters and why are they called humans? What even is the magic of the king? How does Count Louise have the fucking audacity? Why do I want to cry every time I talk to Heisme? And why won't the game let me give him a hug? Who is best girl and why is it Hulkenberg? Why does every character have at least one fucking stupid outfit detail? And many, many more. This game is just seriously amazing and I just feel the need to recommend it to everyone. You should play it, enough said. There's a scene in Remember the Flowers that I keep thinking back to, where a character, Vita, sees the sunrise for the first time in years. Having been rescued from the cruel experiments of a medical facility, they'd spent every moment since then hiding underground, terrified by the prospect that they might be found and have their freedom stolen from them again. But Cyrus, the main character, is just about to leave and Vita doesn't want him to go without giving him the medicine they'd been working on, as well as tea leaves for the journey. They faced their fear and not only were they there to see their friend off, but were able to see the beauty of the sunrise again, having nearly forgotten what it was like. It was the first time in years that they'd even felt fresh air on their skin, too terrified to ever risk it. But they threw that fear aside for someone they cared about. It's a relatively short scene in the grand scheme of things, and for a relatively minor character, but the heartfelt beauty of it brought tears to my eyes, and it's far from the only time this game has had that effect on me. Remember the Flowers is an ongoing visual novel about Cyrus, a young man who awakens in an alley with his body ruined and no memory of how he got there, forced to rely on strangers to survive in the world he finds himself in, all while struggling to find a way back to the people he loved, if one still exists. I'm keeping this recommendation as spoiler-free as I can, because I really do think it's a beautiful story that more people should experience. I played this game very near the beginning of the year on the recommendation of a friend, and I'm so happy I did because I knew it was going to be on this list even then. And yes, it is a furry game, but I'm not a furry and I love it to pieces, so that at least should be a mark in its favour if the presence of anthropomorphic characters is something that gives you pause. As I said last year, I play visual novels for the narrative and not the aesthetic, and I really just don't care if something has furries or not. Remember the Flowers is beautiful and tragic and painful and joyous, and a story so fantastically well told and full of passion that I simply cannot recommend it enough, which I know I keep saying, but it's true. I might technically be cheating by putting it on the list since it's still being worked on, but they did recently finish a major story arc and is already longer than most indie games, so I'm keeping it here because it impacted me that much. I love the characters and the story of this game, I love the world and the themes, and I love the music. Music I've been listening to over and over all year. I know you might be skeptical because it's a furry game, but rest assured, it is entirely safe for work, and the story is very well told. I think special mention should go to Cyrus himself, who is his own character and not just an audience surrogate, which is surprisingly rare in visual novels like this. Though it's also not a dating sim, so that might have something to do with it. Still, I was surprised that the main character ended up being my favorite because that almost never happens in games like this. It's just one of the many things that makes the writing of this game so good. I know it's easy and also very fun to laugh at furries, and I've done my fair share of that on this channel and will do again. But I've also never been shy about issuing them praise where it's deserved, and it is absolutely deserved here. You can download the game for free on itch, but I would encourage people who enjoy it to donate just a little bit of money if you can. There's something really special here, and I hope it gets more recognition as time goes on. Alrighty then, before we get to the number 1 spot, let's bang out a quick list of honourable mentions, games that stuck with me but for whatever reason just didn't make the cut. Date Everything is a fucking hilarious, absurdist romp where you let go from your job, meld a pair of basically magic sentient sunglasses that allow you to see the Gajinka forms of household objects and attempt to romance them. It is extremely silly and fun and just an all-around good time filled with charming characters, stellar voice acting, and a sense of humour so pun-laden you'd swear they're attempting the world record. Want to date your fridge, your walls, your ceiling? Want to ask out the personification of the 80s, or your nightmares, or the concept of existential dread itself? Fuck it. Want to try dating the fucking interface or the devs? Congrats, you can do that too. Also, each character has their own remarkably fitting theme music, and you should absolutely check out the OST. I'm using one of the songs for this section, and if you can correctly guess which one without checking the credits, you win. Give it a look, it's pure dumb fun. It actually would have taken spot 11 if it wasn't for Night Rain. Lost Solicide is a game I meant to do a full review on earlier this year, but my footage got corrupted and I was just a little too disheartened afterwards. To sum up my feelings, it's a really good first try, and a game you can definitely have a lot of fun with, especially if you enjoy body cop dynamics and over-the-top combat. It also has some of the most hilariously bad voice acting I've ever seen in my life. Like, half of the characters, the main characters no less, have worse voice work than I do. Though it has given me no small amount of joy, not gonna lie. I do think the game is worth a look, but you should probably wait for it to go on sale. Also look up the development story for the game, it's genuinely really cool and heartwarming. Digimon Time Stranger is really fun. It's the best that the Digimon Story series has so far, and you can have some of your buffer dudes carry you around like a pretty princess, so that's pretty neat. Not much else to say really. I like Digimon, I like RPGs, it's a really good Digimon RPG. Gnosia is a very interesting game that's essentially single-player anime Among Us with a splash of Danganronpa. It actually got a really good anime adaptation this year that I've been meaning to do a video on at some point. I honestly cannot say if it's necessarily a good game, but it is uniquely enthralling, and so I can recommend it on that fact alone. Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 came out this year and they are fantastic. Absolutely Toby's best work yet. The only reason it's not on the list proper is that it's still not finished and the last chapter left on a cliffhanger that is genuine torture for me. Otherwise this game would easily crack the top 3. Scarlet Hollow is an ongoing horror visual novel by Black Tabby Games, the same people who brought us Slay the Princess, and it's really, really good. It's so fucking good and creepy and oh my god, people need to play it. As with Deltarune, it's kept off the list by very much still being in development and also leaving on a torturous cliffhanger, but the story is so compelling and the fucking sound design is so good for the horror and it's so scary and it's just, oh, I seriously just needed to gush about it. Please give it a try and give them your support, it's so fucking worth it. Also, you can pick special abilities at the start of the game. Make one of them talking to animals. It makes everything better. I'm really just straight up cheating by putting Spiritfarer here because it honestly feels disrespectful to try to rank it at all. I played it for my essay on games exploring grief and it is just so fucking powerful and emotionally cathartic that it fucking ruined me. I barely had the time to clean the tears off my glasses before I started crying again. My spectacles were left permanently stained by my tears because of this fucking game. It's beautiful and I love it, and please stop hurting me, Spiritfarer. I can't cry anymore.
You've already taken all my tears. What more do you fucking want?
So I finally played Silent Hill 2 for the first time ever this year. I made a video about it and everything. I'd always heard it was really, really good and one of the best games ever and will change your life and blah blah blah. You know how it goes with hype and nostalgia. I really did like the game though, and I came away with a lot of thoughts and newfound excitement to play the next game, which I'll be getting to sometime this coming year, depending on what my patrons vote for. The next game will be Banjo-Kazooie. But yes, good game, glad I played it. So Silksong came out this year amidst a wave of joyful tears and set afire clown wigs. This is another game that I made a long review on, coming away with an overall very positive experience that was sadly extremely soured by poor design decisions that, if fixed, could land this game the #1 spot. If you're curious as to my thoughts on the game and aren't busy tearing down to the comments to say something predictably brain dead and filled with cope like skill issue or get good, you can always watch my review to hear my reasoning. It's sad because outside of those issues, the game was a fucking immaculate sequel that I loved, but in the end, the issues it had were serious enough to keep it off the list for me. Alright, I believe that's all of them, so let's wrap this up with my favourite game from 2025, shall we? I know people are probably tired of hearing about this game, but sometimes a game really does deserve all the praise and awards it receives. Except for Indie Game of the Year, but that's really the fault of the Game Awards not recognising there's an in-between space between Indie and AAA, and really just not Sandfall Entertainment's fault. Expedition 33 is a truly astounding game about grief and loss and beauty and love and friendship and how creepy mimes are. The game centers on the titular expedition, a group of adventurers from a city of Lumiere, on a quest to stop a giant woman from erasing more and more people with each passing year as she ticks down the number that dictates the maximum age someone can be before they're simply removed from existence in an event known as the Gommage. And aware as they are that they've basically signed up for a suicide mission, they still go forth, determined to put what little time they have left to good use, making sure there's a future for the people at all. The story, the characters, there's so much power to the narrative told in this game, so much to talk about and analyze and speculate on and go over and over for hours and hours. And the gameplay is also fucking top notch. I love the battle system so fucking much. This is the only game I've ever played that made me genuinely want to master the parry system, partially because it's so well designed and actually feels feasible, but also because that hit of dopamine I get when you perform a counterattack is like fucking crack. Combat is so fun and dynamic and flashy and the fights are so impressive that I was fighting every enemy I could, not for the grinding, but because it's fucking fun. And each character has their own unique mechanics and weapons and skills, and it all just works to ensure there's always going to be at least one character you want to keep in your party, purely because they feel really good to play. Comment below who has your favourite mechanics, because between the amazing human taser, the next avatar, I was a teenage tactical nuke, the cards say fuck you, my what lovely feet, and I like to wreck the grading curve, everyone's guaranteed to have one. And the music, who can forget the music in this game? Lorien Testard is a fucking maniac to have made such a wide array of fantastic music, from the mournful violins of Gustav's theme, to the playful whimsy of Gestrel Summer Party, to the sheer epic journey that is Unvia Temer, to the sheer sex appeal that is Monoku's theme. God, there's just so much to love here. The game is also surprisingly funny when it wants to be, and not just in the writing. I mean, like, what do you mean you can strap a baguette to everyone's back and make them bald? What do you mean there's an army of bobblehead mimes to fight for cosmetics? What do you mean one of your party members is a foot fetish powered blue mage? What the fuck do you mean that one of the previous expeditions rode a Ferris wheel across the sea? What do you mean there's an enemy you just have to let bounce itself to death? What the fuck do you mean that, canonically, the most successful expedition before us was made entirely of bodybuilding nudists? And yeah, I've got complaints. It's annoying to have to buy things one at a time, and that characters feel the need to comment every single time you pick up an item, and that the platforming sections feel like they were designed by someone who's only ever heard of platforming games via a poorly connected Zoom call with someone extremely drunk. But those are such small issues compared to the overwhelming amount of love I have for this game, partially because the game is so clearly made with so much love and passion for the medium itself. I love this game so much I made my channel anniversary video on it, a video I am extraordinarily proud of, by the way. Please give that a look if you haven't, it was a lot of work. And I still haven't had my fill of it yet. I've played it twice now and I keep wanting to come back to spend just a little bit more time with the characters I've grown to know and love so dearly. I cannot wait to see what Sandfall creates in the future, because this sure was one hell of a debut title, and its success has secured their future for sure. There's so much more I could say, but I don't want to keep barfing uncritical praise all over you, so I'll just leave it at this. Please give this game a try if you haven't. Please engage with it and see how it earned so much love from so many people. And even if it is the single most French game you've ever played, well, let me sell it to you the same way I sold my other European friends on it when they weren't sure. You do get to see an awful lot of French people die if that somehow does it for you. You weirdo. Friends, thank you for watching, and a huge thanks to everyone who engaged with my channel this year. It's been rough lately as changes to YouTube's algorithm have drastically impacted the visibility of my videos, but I'm still here and still making them as best I can. I'm hoping 2026 is kinder to all of us, but in the meantime, I'd actually like to give all of my patrons a thanks for all the support they've given me this year. I honestly don't think I'd have filled up to half of my video output without them beside me, so with that in mind, I'd like to issue a special thanks to Lustrous Lizard, Lena Bookworm, Owen Oofs, Bonon, Kato124, Felby, Nightcrawler Brit, Wisteria, Tetrophobe49, Teddy503, Binary Split, Sailor Waiachi, Builder, Gayfei, Poetic Soul 2, Benjamin Bishop, and the Owl08. Thank you everyone so much. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope you have a happy new year.